When it comes to strengthening judicial independence in South Carolina, this morning's guest is working hard to set the bar real high. Who is she? You'll meet her coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Garden City Furniture, a 2444 Highway 17 business in Garden City. We're focused on strengthening judicial independence in South Carolina. And we're visiting with the president of the South Carolina Bar and a trial attorney in Florence, Flo Vinson. Good morning, Flo.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming in early on a Tuesday morning.
Thank you for having me.
To highlight this very special topic and one that has surely been in the media recently and a lot going on with judicial independence.
That's correct.
In the South Carolina Bar, a lot of folks hear that phrase, or they hear a bar if they're not an attorney. Of course, lots of things conjure up in their mind when they hear that word. But when we talk about the South Carolina Bar, just give viewers a sense of the significance of the South Carolina Bar.
Certainly. It's an organization with just under 13,000 members, and in order to practice law in South Carolina, you do have to be a member of the South Carolina Bar. It's a mandatory bar.
Okay.
And we're regulated by the South Carolina Supreme Court, and the bar is actually a creation of the Supreme Court and sort of served as their arm of overseeing and regulating the practice of law.
Great, good. And you've been a member, I guess, coming right out of law school? Does everyone join right out of law school?
Right. You sit for the bar examination, right, and then you nervously wait till the results come out, and then you're sworn in about 1 month later.
Speaking of that, how long does it normally take for the results to come in?
Well, I've gotten so old now, I don't know if computers have sped up the process at all, but we took the bar exam in August, and the results came out right near Halloween. We always said it was the ultimate trick or treat.
I bet it was. Yeah, I wonder if things have moved forward at all. Computers, I'm sure, have sped things up a little bit. Not that you have been out that long, but
22 years, so that's
exciting.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And real quick about yourself, Flo. Are you originally from the area?
Was born in Florence, South Carolina.
Good.
And I am the baby of my family and the only girl after 4 boys, which my husband tells me is about 90% of all of his problems. And that we have sort of a legal tradition in the family of my 4 brothers. 3 of them are also lawyers, and one of them had a great deal of sense and judgment and went into the banking field.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And the other 3 that are attorneys, are they also in the PD?
My oldest brother, Ken Lester, practices in the domestic area up in Columbia, South Carolina. And then Dickie Lester and John Lester practice real estate here in Myrtle Beach.
Right. Wow. And your brother, the banker, is? He
is in Bennettsville, South Carolina,
Okay.
which was his wife's hometown, and
Right.
he is the head of the First Citizens Bank there.
So everyone stayed in the Palmetto State?
We all came back to the Palmetto State.
Right.
At one time, I had a brother who was in the Air Force and a brother who was in the FBI, and my youngest brother traveled abroad a good bit. So
Right.
we were spread out, but now we've all come home.
That is exciting. Now, had either of your parents been in the law or prompted open that door? I mean, with 80% of their children, actually 4 of the 5 getting into the law, was there something that spurned that interest?
I think my mother was a homemaker. My father was actually manager of Siltest Dairies, so I can tell people I really was the milkman's child. I think my father, both parents, but graduated from high school when the Depression hit.
Right.
And so my father was not able to continue his education. He had to go to work to support the family. But he always put such a strong emphasis on education and following through. So I think just that desire to learn and continue learning, he sort of instilled it in each of us.
That is fascinating. Yeah. How about that idea of your 3 of your 4 older brothers getting into the law? Did that open the door for you? Did that make you think about it? Or maybe you even got them interested, talking about it at an early age?
Well, Greg, their story was that they grew up arguing with one another, and they finally figured out a way to make a living doing that. My story was that the Lester family was going to keep trying until we got a good lawyer in our family.
Oh, good answer. Yeah. Good answer. Yes, and that shows, I think I saw coming right out of law school, you joined on as a law clerk. with then Justice Harwell, later Chief Justice Harwell, and now man about town, former Chief Justice Harwell. What was that experience like back in '85?
That was a great experience. Justice Harwell grew up in the Mars Bluff community on the outskirts of Florence.
Right.
So it gave me an opportunity to divide my time between the South Carolina Supreme Court in Columbia and then also back in my hometown of Florence.
Right.
And certainly got to see a wide variety of lawyers from all across the state, or other lawyers that had been associated from out of state, come before the highest court and argue cases, and it was a fabulous experience.
Oh, yeah, I bet that was. And in South Carolina, the Supreme Court is made up of how many justices?
There are 5 justices on the Supreme Court.
So 4 associate and 1 chief?
That's correct. And then we also have the Court of Appeals that was formed in the early 80s that has 9 judges, a chief judge who is Kay Hearn from Conway,
yes.
and then 8 associate judges on that court. So those are our 2 appellate panels.
We think about the strength of that. It's a great example. You mentioned Kay Hearn. Of course, you talked about the Supreme Court, and we think at the time, I believe, is it Jean Toll?
Is right. She is our Chief Justice.
You've got 2 female, the top-ranking members of the judiciary in the state of South Carolina. Is that? Are there many other states that would have their top judicial officers as women? Clearly, yourself as the president of the South Carolina Bar.
Yeah, I'm only the 3rd female to serve as the president for the South Carolina Bar. There are other states with female chief justices or chief judges, but
Right.
it is very unusual to have both of those positions and the bar president all filled with females at the same time.
Very exciting time here in the Palmetto State. That's wonderful. Of course, real focus here on strengthening judicial independence. Is this an issue that viewers should be interested in, Flo?
Absolutely is, Greg. It is of vital importance to the very structure, the very basic rights that we have under our laws in this country. And while people may not initially think that it affects them, if the rule of law does break down or is lessened, it certainly would have an impact on every citizen.
Mm-hmm. Let's just break it down simply. What exactly does that mean, judicial independence?
Greg, as you know, the judiciary is an independent and separate branch of the government from the legislative or the executive branch. And it's important that the judges that make up that branch be allowed to issue opinions based solely on the law and on the facts of the case before them without being subject to political pressure or, for instance, you'll often in the media, if a judge will make a decision that maybe I've found oftentimes people that get very upset with the outcome quite often do not know all of the facts that were presented to him on that particular case. Right. And the persons may come forward in the media or other outlets with criticisms not of the law or not of the decision in that case, but they direct the criticism to the judge as an individual or to the judiciary as an institution. By their canon of ethics, they are not allowed to speak about particular cases. Right. So then they sort of look guilty by silence at that point. Right. The South Carolina Bar does have a group that is formed to, when situations like that come about, to try to investigate it and at least give the media some response that the judge is not allowed to provide.
And we'll talk about that later. I think that was one of the follow-up questions as we think about judicial independence and that the attorneys working just to make sure to provide an adequate response to lay people or anyone who may. The idea of the judiciary itself, I think that you talked simply about interpreting the law based on the facts of a case. Is there anything more than that? I mean, obviously it is more than that, but when we think it through, is that the principal focus there?
Right. I mean, they look at the law as it has been set forth. They have to interpret it to determine what it means in a particular set of facts. They're bound by what we call stare decisis, or the existing opinions and decisions. And if the public or particular individuals do not like the outcome in a case, it's 99.9% of the time not the judiciary, it's the laws that are in place that is actually perhaps the cause. And of course that needs to be addressed with the legislature to have them change or amend those laws. Sure.
Of course, now y'all at the South Carolina Bar, it is all, as we talked about earlier, in some states, maybe even in North Carolina, our sister state, they have a required organization, the North Carolina Bar, and then a volunteer organization, the North Carolina Bar Association. I don't know if either group is more vocal than the other, but clearly in South Carolina there's a desire to support judicial independence. Are there some reasons possibly for supporting it that most people wouldn't think about, or what are some of the biggest reasons to support that the South Carolina Bar supports judicial independence?
Again, I think it's just such a basic precept of our law that if we get to the point that judicial independence is eroded, you're in fact diminishing, if not doing away with, one of your three branches of government.
Right.
So you're throwing off the whole systems of checks and balances there. Again, we try to serve as a sort of liaison between the judiciary and the public to provide them information to help them understand maybe better why some of the decisions that are reached are reached.
Okay. What is the bar doing in this area? I know you've highlighted some of these, and of course, again, I'm highlighting some of the questions, thinking about it, and visiting the South Carolina Bar, a website, and thinking about in strengthening judicial independence. These were some of the good, frequently asked questions that pop up. But what is the bar doing in this area?
We have a task force that is working on that area, studying it, trying to determine what we as a bar can do to make sure that important right is not eroded. We also have CLEs and other seminars and opportunities for public exchange to try to explain to people the concept and the importance of it, and try to keep that dialogue open and going on with the public.
You mentioned there was, I believe, the Commission on Judicial Independence and Impartiality. Is that something that was set up to that you talked about earlier?
Correct. It sort of has a twofold purpose. One, to study the issue and try to think of ways that we can be proactive to educate the public. And then secondly, it has also served when, like we talked about, a particular judge or the judiciary is attacked on the basis of a decision, and they are not allowed to respond at all, then that group will come forward and try to fill in the facts and help the people understand why a particular decision was reached in a particular case. Okay,
and since now judges can't serve on the commission, who does serve on the commission?
We actually have attorneys that serve on it as well as lay people. We feel like it's obviously important that the attorneys serve that have a deeper understanding of the legal issues and ramifications, but because what we're attempting to do is explain it to the public, it's very important to have lay persons to give us that perspective so we can balance our responses and know that we're providing information that's beneficial to everyone, lawyers and non-lawyers.
Right, sure. And of course, it would probably be difficult to find a good venue if there was such a thing for judges to respond, but is there a reason, I guess, for judges not to respond? Is there something, I mean, lay people, of course, or virtually anyone would want to hear it from the horse's mouth. Why don't judges respond?
I guess the public is familiar with when potential candidates for the United States Supreme Court are being questioned by Congress, and if they will ask specifics, and they'll say, I'm not allowed to comment on issues that could come before me. And if a judge were to make certain comments, the public may perceive it as them he or she having a predisposition towards certain sides of an issue. In South Carolina, our judicial members they don't even vote in primaries. They can vote in the general election, but in the primary you would have to choose one party or the other. And we try very hard to not only have the independence of the judiciary, but also the appearance of the independence, so that no one feels that they would get less than a fair and impartial hearing.